OBD or EOBD, which we learned yesterday is OBD, onboard diagnostic or European onboard diagnostics. For this machine, we have diagnostic code lookup. So if you have a code that you want to check, maybe you saw it somewhere, you want to remember what it means, you can click that. Let me just do that straight away. And you can type in the code. You want to know what that code means. For example, P01, let me just put 001. Let's, so I'm showing the keyboard. So for that 0, I want to select backspace to delete that character. So I want to replace that character with 1, input overflow, sorry. Backspace, that's 0, then I'll go to 1, select 1. I'm selecting from the keyboard here, for example, just to demonstrate. So if I'm done with this, I click finish. Do you want to save and continue? Yes. So it's telling me that P001 in this case is fuel volume regulator control. The circuit is open.
Yes.
What does open circuit mean? It means maybe there's a broken wire or the sensor is no longer functioning.
Okay.
So you're able to know that, okay, the DME, the ECU, sorry, I always say DME because I'm from BM world. The ECU, electronic control unit, is not getting a ground signal or a feedback signal from that circuit. So it's going to pause this code. That is just in case you have a code that you don't know. That's what that is for. Playback means you want to replay an information that you have saved before. You have saved menus all around, set up all about. That's just about the machine. But let's go to our OBD. If you use scan, in this case, it's going to list vehicles from various regions of the world. So you can go, for example, we know that this is an Asian vehicle. That's a Nissan, right? Mm-hmm. So you can go to Asia and click and look, search for Nissan, and then you click Nissan. MI, like I said, malfunction lamp. It means if you check this vehicle originally, there was check engine light. Of course, we had it in the question yesterday. Code found, 4. Monitors not available, 3. Monitors that are okay, 4. Monitors that are incomplete, 3. Once we are done with that information, just click OK. System status, that is the page we just left. Read codes, those codes that it said there are 4 codes. So the stored codes, we are going to check them. Now see what I said yesterday. You can see something. Manufacturer specific codes are found. It's asking for the manufacturer now. Then we'll go and select what? What's the vehicle? Nissan. So we're going to select Nissan in this case. Not all vehicles will bring that. It depends on the codes that are on it. And with this now, for this Nissan code, we selected Nissan. So you can see it's writing Nissan there. That's for this machine. Other machines may have slight, but these codes will remain the same. The procedures are generally the same. So we have P1444. You may write that down, because that's what we have on this vehicle. We are doing it live. Please, let's write. On this vehicle, we have P1444. So you'll be telling us what it means, even though it's written here. 444. P1444. Second code, P0328. So for the first code, we have purge volume control. Purge volume control, P-U-R-G-E, purge volume control. It means there's something that is wrong on that circuit of the purge control valve. Possibly the solenoid, possibly the wiring to that valve is wrong. So if you don't know what purge control is, the mechanic will just tell you, I clear the code, you can carry your car and go, and the code will return again. So you have to be able to know what that is, or whoever the technician is must know what that is. At the moment you don't know it, you are free to read up about it and understand where that valve or system is on the vehicle. Most systems operate the same way. Manufacturers are free to decide how to implement their position, location. So those are the things you want to know for the specific vehicle, in this case, a Nissan Xterra. The second code, P0328, knock sensor 1, circuit high, which is bank 1, or P0328. And the interpretation is knock sensor 1, circuit high. High? Yes, on bank 1. So as some of these terms are coming, I will be explaining them. Knock sensor 1 tells you that it's possible you have more than one knock sensor, depending on the vehicle. I believe this vehicle is a 6-cylinder engine, correct? Yeah. So bank 1 is the side of the engine, that's a V6 now in this case, where you have cylinder 1. Bank 2 will be where you are going to have cylinder 2, because usually they are numbered, for Japanese they are numbered, 1 on one bank, 2 on the next bank, 3 beside 1 on the first bank, 4 on the second bank beside 2, 5 on the first bank beside 3, and 6 on the second bank beside 4. I hope we are all following. Now, we have the first sensor on the first bank having issue. Some vehicles may have just 2 per bank. It implements the vehicle. Are we together? So we have talked about knock sensor yesterday. The knock sensor detects pinging in the vehicle, and you will notice retarded performance once the knock sensor circuit detects pinging due to vacuum leaks, due to link condition, due to irregular fuel. It's common in Nigeria, for example. The knock sensor will tell the DME, I'm noticing pinging on this cylinder, retard the timing for that cylinder. However, if the sensor is faulty, it will stop the car. Position, taking response, because there will be faulty signal or signal coming. And if the car is pinging, for example, then you go and check that circuit. It's not just clearing it, so you write it down, then you go and check what is wrong with that circuit. The third code on this vehicle, P0128. P0128, I mean 23, sorry. P0123, throttle stroke pedal position sensor. Switch A, which is usually the first switch. There will be a switch there. Depending on the total number of switches inside, can be up to 3. For that throttle position sensor. Some vehicles have a separate pedal position sensor on the pedal, which is electronic, whereby you don't have a wire coming. I hope you are all listening, please. Where you don't have a wire coming from the pedal to the engine, to the throttle box. But on some vehicles, you still have cables connecting the pedal to the throttle body in the engine. On those vehicles, some or most of them anyway, for any OB2 compliant vehicle, we have an electronic throttle position sensor that tells the DME this is how wide that sensor is open. You may notice sluggish acceleration, irregular acceleration, or whatever, because now it is giving that code. Most times when you come, the technician will check after asking for why you brought your into the workshop. So it says that that circuit is high. When we say the circuit is high, possibly there's an irregular voltage, more than the DME is expecting to find on that circuit. So it's a series of taking measurements, taking checks on the system. Further reading in our case now, because we won't have time to be doing full-on diagnosis, that's checking all these circuits one by one. Because of time, I hope we would have been able to be checking them one by one. We open it up, check the circuit, and see what we have. Are we together? Then we have P0128 as the fourth code on this vehicle. P0128. Coolant thermostat. And it's telling me that there's something wrong with the thermostat of this vehicle. The coolant temperature is below the thermostat regulating temperature. Most likely now, the thermostat on this engine has been removed. And then the engine will not always get to optimal operating temperature in the time the the ECU expects the engine to reach optimal operating temperature. I emphasized it yesterday. That many times we think our engine is running cool, that it is good, whereas it is bad for the engine. It's bad for many of our sensors. Your catalytic converter, your oxygen sensor, and in fact, the combustion process inside the engine needs the engine to be at optimal operating temperature so that it can meet emission standards. Is that okay? So those are the 4 codes on this vehicle. Now, let's check pending codes. The pending codes yesterday, I told you that they are hidden codes. I use the term hidden codes, yes, which are also called shadow codes, depending on the vehicle you are dealing with. On this vehicle, I basically have those same codes I have on the main codes. It means before they come to the main codes that we first read, the engine will detect it. For example, somebody may say, "Oh, my God, for me." Then, after some time, you say, "Look, for me, are we together now?" Yes. So the computer will check and see that, okay, this problem is present. It will not register it until it completes a drive cycle and sees that that condition remains. Different codes have different requirements, drive cycle requirements for the engine computer to flag the check engine light or the malfunction indicator light. So once you see all this code and you have documented them, the next thing you do is you exit them and you click erase codes. Is that okay? We click what? Erase codes. If I erase these codes now, I want every other person to listen, because if I erase them, not all codes will come. Maybe they are not present. That's why I'm saying we should be listening. When we come back, maybe not all those codes will be together. Okay, sir. So now, if I click erase code, which is option number 3 there, or before I erase them, sorry, let's go to, oh, God, it's done. I wanted to check the freeze frame, like I said yesterday. The freeze frame, or option number 5. In this case, I erased it. That's another advertent error. I clicked the wrong button there. So, however, what I will do now is to start the vehicle. It's manual, right?
Yes, it's manual.
Manual.
I wish I was shocked. Like, okay, now that, please, sir, camera inside. Sir. Remove it from the tripod. If you look on the dashboard, you see that there's engine light at the moment, except the ABS, because we didn't go to the ABS system. You can see the ABS light there. I hope you can see it. You can see the ABS light, right? But there's no check engine light. That symbol that looks like an engine, we can't see because we have erased the code. However, if this vehicle is allowed to run for some time, it will scan and check if those faults we cleared are still existing on the vehicle, and the check engine light will come back on. So faults come on when technicians work on the vehicle and they start disconnecting so many things and put on the ignition or start the vehicle before actually completing the repair of the vehicle, and fail to clear it after they are done with whatever they are doing on the vehicle. So for live data now that the vehicle is running, we can check live data and you can see that the tool is scanning. It's reading the performance indicators one by one, and we see a complete list there, and option number 2, custom list. If you want to check one data against another data, you can use custom list. But in this case, so that we can just see, let us click complete list. It will load all the information, and if you see from number 1 there, we see DTC count 1. With DCT count 1 now, I expect the check engine light to be on because I have one diagnostic trouble code. I'm not seeing the check engine light yet. It was there before. Now, I see fuel system on the machine.
You mean ABC, Abi?
No.
ABS.
The check engine.
It's no more there.
But here I have one diagnostic trouble code in the live data. We'll check what that means shortly. So, now for fuel system, the next option. So we have fuel system. You can see OL there. Are we seeing it? OL means open loop. It means on the fuel system, it is not yet running on closed loop as this engine has started. For a system that is working very okay, you expect that place to be closed loop. It means there's a problem somewhere on the vehicle that needs to be addressed within the fuel system. Then we have fuel system 2. Okay, we have that also now as a CL, which is closed loop. We have load on the engine load as a percentage, and we have it as 23.9, and it's fluctuating.
Yeah, that fluctuating.
It's fluctuating because the engine RPM cannot stay on one point. There are a lot of factors responsible as the computer is regulating constantly as it is working. So you have it, if you decide to increase the load now by revving it, you can see it's increasing, 34, 29, 47, because I revved the engine. I gave it more gas. And now that I released the pedal, I have it back at 22.7, 22.4, and it will be fluctuating like that. Then we have ECT, and that is given in Fahrenheit now. I have somebody who help me do the quick conversion. ECT. This is outdoor temperature.
Outdoor, okay.
This is outdoor temperature. That's the temperature of the environment in front of the vehicle. So we have ECT here as 149 degree Fahrenheit. 149 degree Fahrenheit. That gives the temperature of the engine. Please let me do a quick conversion to centigrade so that we have an idea. It means this engine is still very, very cold. Very, very cold. And of course, if you look at the dashboard, you can see C there. The coolant temperature is very close to C. I expected that coolant temperature to be very close to the middle of that dial, to be telling me that this engine has reached operating temperature. And when you see that your temperature is low like that, you are not expected to drive the car so rough, like you don't have to give too much gas, too much load. You allow it to warm up. But because thermostat has been removed, and on some other vehicles, for example, now the fan will be running permanently. I guess this one is running a mechanical fan, which is using a clutch. So it will take time for the temperature to rise, and the fan can pick up at the rate designed. I've not checked the engine. Then we can see...
The fan is automatic.
It's automatic, yeah. Electric. Okay. When it reaches operating temperature. So when it's cool like this, you don't run it too high. You don't start from home when it's very cool and start firing it. You allow it to and pick up temperature. Minutes. You can move because at that moment your engine oil has reached operating temperature. The next thing we see on this fuel trim, and we see another one, long-term fuel trim in our manual. Those are two parameters that the car uses to make correction on the fuel that the injectors should inject based on values from your airflow meter for the newer engines, based on signals or data from your oxygen sensor, based on signal or data from your MAP sensor, manifold absolute pressure sensor. These sensors contribute to how your fuel is being utilized, how the DME, the ECU, pulses the fuel injectors to supply fuel into the engine. Ideally, you want those values to be very, very close to zero to tell you that the vehicle is running optimally. Your short-term fuel trim is instantaneous correction that the engine is giving. In this case now, I'm having 0%. I will say this engine is perfect. in the long-term fuel trim, I have 0%. But if I'm seeing 0, 0, I will be thinking, what is wrong with this vehicle? Why am I having long-term 0, short-term 0? But I can see the second values of short-term there, having minus 3.1, minus 1.6, and long-term fuel trim 8.6% positive, which means in the long term, it has had to make adjustment. And so that is a permanent reference for the vehicle over a long period of time. It will now be using that to base the adjustment of short-term fuel trim to make instantaneous adjustment. So I don't think this vehicle now, as it were from these readings, will be consuming too much fuel because both of them are still about 10% up. 6 minus 0. That is still about 8.6. Minus 1.6 is still less than 10. But ideally, are we getting it now? Mind you, minus here is telling me that injectors are subtracting. Is subtracting that is adding to the engine in response to rich condition. It means maybe this engine is running too rich. The oxygen sensors rather giving feedback. This ECU will be deducting to compensate that condition. Whereas if you have positive, it means the engine is adding, the ECU is adding more, forcing the injectors more to compensate for a leak condition, which can be to vacuum leak or other situations, which time may not allow us to talk about now. And so you have engine RPM at 775, that's one will be fluctuating, 762. You can't notice that directly on the manual dial that you have in front of you here. But digitally, or if you have a digital tachometer, you'll be able to see what the ideal engine RPM is as it is fluctuating. And this one is normal because it's just within the normal range. Are we together? Yes. Vehicle speed sensor, VSS, 0 mile per hour. Of course, this is calibrated for US environment. On some other machines, you can change the settings to run your preferred measurements. And so, of course, the vehicle is stationary. If, as it is stationary now, you are reading high values, I would think there's something wrong with the system of the vehicle that is making it to read. Spark advance, 13.0, that should pretty much remain the same at idle. But as the vehicle is being revved or under load, its values can change. As you can see, I'm giving it gas. You can see it changing to 29. It means the engine, ECU, is adjusting the timing of spark coming to the spark plug depending on how the engine load is being optimized or whatever you need. It means at this moment, you want more power, you're giving it gas. It will advance the spark. And if you want to reduce power, it will retard the spark based on input from all other sensors. So all this information is usually utilized by the ECU to determine fuel consumption. I have IAT. IAT here in degree Fahrenheit also 138. That is the inlet air temperature. And like I said yesterday, this sensor on most new vehicles don't exist in isolation. It is embedded with the mass airflow sensor that we call airflow meter. So before you just change your airflow meter because of one error, you want to first check if this sensor is actually reading the values that are within acceptable range for that vehicle. Some people now will just go and put airflow meter for one vehicle for another vehicle and say, oh, bashishe, without specifying or without checking that it was actually designed. It could be a compatible model across various model brands of the same manufacturer. So you want to be sure that those values are within specs. They are published data sheets for the manufacturer. It's not values you just cram on your head. Of course, there are a lot of books that you can get and take values. Bosch, for example, is an automotive manufacturer that produces many of these sensors for various automobile brands. And so they have published data sheets, most of which are available online, to check what the available or acceptable values from each of these modules are, and especially how to check for errors on those modules. Then I have MAF, mass airflow sensor reading. At this point now, it's telling me I have 0.01 pound per second. That is the rate at which air is flowing across the mass airflow sensor. And if I give it more gas, you see that the value is changing. At this point, I have 0.2, 0.3. And as the engine load increases, the airflow coming through the engine will be changing. And it has to take account into that rate of air coming into the engine and use that to calculate the percentage of oxygen in that air and then calculate the value of fuel to burn that quantity of air so that you can have stoichiometric ratio of 14.7 of air to 1 of fuel. And all these sensors together read in concert to give a stable engine, stable drive condition, and all that. Throttle position, 71.1%, and other codes, which at the moment I will not be talking about here today. I hope that has given us an insight into the things we see. If you have any questions so far, we'll take them in the question section when we are done with other tests.
Please, sir, what have you done that remove that engine, check engine?
Yes, sir.
Because
What I did from the beginning is...
Sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
I bought this vehicle 20... Sir. To remove that, what we call it? Check engine. But no way.
Okay.
I know.
Now,
This instrument you can use now.
I cleared the code here, and I was waiting for whichever code will come back. So I will answer that in the final when we are dealing with everybody. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But at this moment now, I have a hidden code of 0328 knock sensor. So it means the knock sensor circuit is faulty. Sir, for your vehicle, hello, sir. Your knock sensor circuit is faulty. That's 0328 code. It's the only one coming back. But so far, it can bring back the check engine light after it completes the drive cycle that is required for that sensor.
Where is that knock sensor?
It is on the engine block. When we are done, we'll look for it. Okay. When we are done, we'll open the engine and check them.
So that I'll be able to...
Yes, sir.
If it needs change.
All right. Do we have the next group?
Next group.
Okay. Exit diagnostics. Next group, are we ready? Right. So now, the first thing we did was to locate on this vehicle the OBD2 port. We initially used...
What do you call our imam?
Now,
Sir.
tábà ti ṣetán tí wọn bá fún ilé epo personal ẹ béèrè epo lọ́wọ́ mi, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, sometimes you don't take two classes the same way. If you look at this connector, in shape they are the same, but you see this one has a gap in between. This one doesn't have a gap. It means there are some systems that this one will not enter, because if that one has a pin here, the main port, this one will not enter. I was talking about 12-volt system yesterday, or 24-volt system. This one is designed to run on a 12-volt system, while this one, type B, can run on a 24-volt or 12-volt system.
Which one did this one belong to?
This is 24-volt system. It can run 12, it can run 24, that's what I'm saying. You can use this on a trailer, for example, now, which runs 24 volts. Okay. While this one can use it on a car. You don't even need to think, it will not enter the port on the trailer. All right. Because of this notch. That's how I was saying it yesterday, type A and type B. So that's just by the way. So now, this connector, but other than that, you can see the 16 pins here, the 16 pins here, just like we discussed yesterday. You look for the port. This is the A pillar of the vehicle. We were saying yesterday, it can be on this A pillar on some vehicles. It is usually under the dash. Some will be hidden under a panel. You open the panel, just like this fuse box panel. You open it and you check. But in the case of this vehicle, it's underneath here. I know the camera will not be able to see that, but we have done that before. So all you need to do, whatever code scanner you have, however complex, however big, people use small phones, people use big phones, all of them we call. So this one, we'll just look for the port underneath. Let me get you light. That we know.
Okay.
Okay. Ẹ̀rí ló bá ojú yẹn. Yes. Immediately, because you have constant 12 volts, the OBD scanner will detect the port and power on. Now it has powered on, so let's place this again so that others can see. We have for this scanner, ML629 of hotel system. We have scan, we have OBD2 or European OBD, diagnostic trouble code lookup, playback, setup, about. Some others we have bigger menus, some others will be touch screen like the other one we have there in the box.
Me, Tirio.
All right, so just to make things fast, if you go to scan on this diagnosis scanner, the interface on this now is a little more advanced than we have on this smaller unit. This one will just do engine only. This one can do engine, gearbox, ABS, circle, SRS. Others can do wheel speed sensors, and every other system in the vehicle. We have different types. So you have to be updating them the same way we flash and update our phones.
This OBD1 or OBD2?
This they are all OBD2.
They are OBD2.
All OBD2. All of them. Just like you have Android. OBD1 has been phased out like before 96. Before 1996, yes. That OBD1 had different manufacturers doing whatever they wanted for their system, yes. So OBD2 is what unified all manufacturers all over the world. And anybody that wants to start manufacturing vehicles today will incorporate the OBD2 standard into his vehicle. Now, if we use scan on this diagnostic machine, it will ask us the region of the world the vehicle originates from. Even if your vehicle is imported from US, if it's a Nissan, it's a Toyota, it's still a Japanese vehicle. If it is a BMW now, it means it must be a European vehicle. Are we together now? So that it allows it to just tune the code. Like I said yesterday, the protocol that each country uses is different. But if you just want to go directly, you don't need to do that. You just come to OBD2 menu directly. So for the purpose of our discourse, we just use the OBD2 menu directly. That way, it will start scanning. Can you see? Scan standard fast, scan standard low. It's checking those protocols one by one. And like I told you yesterday, the protocol, this is J1850. J1850, KWP 2000 protocol. You can see it's scanning those protocols one by one, just like you are tuning a channel by channel. Until it gets to the channel, the protocol that this vehicle uses. Yes, and that's ISO 91412. And you can see it's pausing there. If it doesn't get anything on this now, it will start again from the beginning and be scanning. But once it gets here, it will try and communicate. Now you can see it has loaded protocol, ISO 914, and it reads the vehicle. Ideally, you should be doing this with the vehicle off, but the ignition must be on. But because we had done it initially, that's why we just left it that way. You can see it, MIL status off. Why? No check engine light is on. That's what it's saying. MIL means what? Malfunction indicator lamp. It is in our book. Is that okay? Initially, when we started, it was on, that we were showing it. And then codes found before was 4. And like I said yesterday, you will write the codes. That's why I was detecting it the other time so that we write them. Then, monitors not available, they still remain 3. Monitors that are okay on this vehicle now, 3. Monitors that are incomplete, 4. Depending on the drive cycle. Then we just select, okay, we don't need to save. Now, yeah, you can save if it's your own personal machine and you just want to refer to that information later and play it back and check it. So, 1, system status. That is where we just came back from. So that is where we came back from. So essentially, so we don't need to go back there. The next thing you want to do basically when you plug this machine to the vehicle is you want to read the codes. Is that okay now? It told us that there is 1 code, but initially it was 4, which we cleared. So you said stored code. Now it has brought it under the stored code, but it's still not flashing the malfunction indicator light for whatever reason that the algorithm of this vehicle. On some vehicles, this will immediately put on that light. But maybe it's waiting to check after a specified number of drive cycles. We have not turned the car back off and turned it back on again for it to scan and check. Then to turn on the light. And I will do that shortly. Are we okay now? So the code is P0328. That's the one that remained after the last section. Knock sensor circuit 1 high. It means there's a problem with the knock sensor. You can just even use Google to check what are the things that could be wrong with knock sensor. Like I said, that knock sensor is just a microphone that is tuned to listen to what we call engine noise. Engine knock or pinging in the engine. You cannot hear it most time. By the point your car starts making noise that you can hear, be ready to drive the car to the scrap yard or go and replace the engine, or at least go and rebuild the engine. So to prevent detonation, which is called knock in the engine due to bad fuel or whatever is wrong, the knock sensor is there to listen to the specific frequency of knock within the engine. It will ignore every other sound within the engine, but it's tuned to listen to knock. Once it picks that signal, the ECU immediately retards the ignition timing. You just got that you are driving. The car will start looking sluggish than before. And sometimes the car will start consuming more fuel than what it should. Many people have so many problems on their vehicle they may not know. This knock sensor has made a car consume about 70 liters of fuel just from Owo to Ado-Ekiti and back to Akure. Just knock sensor. Changing the sensor, the car started working and consuming very, very low fuel. So there are a lot of issues that can arise. Yeah, motor injector, you want to check and be sure before you just say, ole je injector, ole je plug, ole je coil. You start buying those things. At the end of the day, you've not solved the problem. Are we together? So that is Diagnostics 101 in brief. We just exit it and check the pending codes. If there are any other codes that are pending on this car, no other pending codes but that knock sensor fault. Is that okay? So you can go ahead, like somebody else yesterday, the mechanic will tell you they've cleared it. Let's just go and clear it. That's erase. We will tell you, erase the code. The fault is still there, so it will come back again. Is that okay? So if you want to erase, you come down to option 3, erase code. But in this case, I want to erase it. That's the mistake I made initially. We want to come down to freeze frame and see what happened. Oh, it didn't stop freeze frame data for detecting that, in this case, for the knock sensor. But freeze frame, like we showed us in our manual yesterday, will tell us the speed the car was running at, every condition on the vehicle at the time when it was running. Another option we have that a technician wants to look at is the live data. I use this live data. I will be driving the car around and checking as the sensors are responding to input. I want to check maybe the gear is responding. If it's changing gear, I want to see if there is a change in engine load to show that, okay, at that point when it's changing gear, you use your ears, you listen, you are looking at this. But you want to be careful as a driver, or you have another technician to document what you are doing. In some companies, you go to maybe Lizard or something, they will have a technician with a big screen, and they will be taking reading. So when they come back, they can play back the information. Okay. So on the live data, you have a complete list that will show, as we were showing on the screen the other time. If you pick the complete list, it will show all those information. We have them in our manual. It will be showing them real time what is happening on the vehicle. And you can pick that information and interpret as according. Thank you very much. Is there any other group?
Okay. Now, how do you interpret? The interpretation, where do you get the code?
Hello, sir. Okay, will not sense
Okay, well, no, you come over.
Okay, Mumbo.
Let's start calling the names of the sensors, so we'll use this vehicle to identify them. The names of the sensor, you have it in your...
Yes, sir.
Okay. this thing. Airflow sensor. Of course, it must be on the position where air is flowing into the engine. Here we have the air filter box. Thank you. This is the air filter box. There is filter inside here. Many people use their vehicle for long. They don't. Camera.
Please on the line. Maybe that will leave.
So please, if you have never changed your filter, change it. It will help every other thing from the airflow meter to the insides of the engine from wearing. Sometimes the filter is torn, it allows dirt, stone, and all that to get inside the engine, and we don't know the reason why we're having problem. So from here, this is the mass airflow meter, which we call MAF in the picture I displayed yesterday. I told you that some old vehicles will use airflow meter, the one we call airflow meter. Yes, they do the same job, but we want to distinguish between them. The airflow meter is usually having a vein. It's usually having a vein that once you are pressing the throttle box there, the sensor is connected to the vein. As the vein is opening, then the sensor is taking readings of the position, and the ECU will be using that to calculate. But in this case, this one takes reading directly. I don't have a removed unit, so that you can just see it. There are two sensors embedded in one here. Yes, we have the one that measures the airflow. We have the one that measures the temperature of the air coming into the engine. If peradventure on this your own model, there is no air temperature sensor here, the air temperature sensor will be located possibly on the map, on the throttle body. Is that okay now? So you can have two sensors in one here. The next one, manifold absolute pressure sensor. It must be on the manifold or somewhere where you can take manifold pressure. Is that okay? So there will be a sensor that will be connected to the manifold to take the pressure of the air inside the engine. It uses all this data to calculate fuel. Remember yesterday we told us that strict emission requirements is what necessitated all these things, so that the computer can know. Those are the eyes and ears of the computer, the ECU, to know what to inject in terms of fuel. Now the next sensor is the throttle position sensor. We have our throttle pedal inside the vehicle. In this case, we have a cable operated throttle. So as you are pressing the pedal inside, this cable will be engaging. This is one going to the pedal, this one. This other one is going to the automatic gearbox system. That are we together now? So as you have, or possibly ABS, because this one is manual.
No, this is ABS.
This one, this is a manual vehicle.
This manual.
Yeah. So this has a sensor inside, and you can see the two different sets of wires coming into this sensor. So you have your throttle position sensor located inside this box. On every vehicle, it goes that way. Mass airflow meter, map, throttle position sensor. It can get dirty, you have error with it, the vehicle may not be working properly. The best thing to do is first scan and know what is going on. Next sensor, please. Camshaft position sensor is always located on the top of the cylinder where you have the camshaft. On some vehicles, you will not find it readily outside. I heard. On some of my BMWs, it will be on the back, so you have to go behind the engine to locate it. But you will always, most times, when you start sensor, I ask people which sensor, because they are, on some vehicles, you can have up to 100 sensors. So which sensor, you must be able to name the sensor. And I may not be so used to the configuration of this vehicle as to be able to quickly pinpoint the location, but once you check where the cam V6, it will be on one of the cams at least, where you have on the block. Some don't have double, but some may have double. Some will just take reference from cylinder 1, and you find it. I know most of us know it. So, but on this case now, but it's usually at the top of the engine, close to where the cam is. That was what gives reference based on what the crankshaft position sensor is telling the engine. You always find the sensor on top of the engine. Well, not to waste our time, let's just forge ahead. I can always use Google to check the specifications of this engine and know where the sensor is. I have a Toyota, and it's always easier to locate on all these 4 cylinders. Now, crankshaft position sensor is always on the crankshaft. And please, these 2 sensors, they are measuring motion. The first 3 we talked about, usually, this airflow and manifold, they are measuring air, pressure, and airflow. Yes. Whereas the camshaft position sensor is also measuring position. Is that okay? Why these ones are measuring movement? There will be a 2-third wheel. The teeth on the wheel are counted. It has been programmed onto the ECU. I have 21 teeth. In a circle, there is 360 degrees. So it knows that once it moves around once, you know, there's no how the ECU knows that this thing is rolling. It will only be counting the teeth. After 21, it knows that I should fire cylinder 1, for example, on the crankshaft. As those teeth are moving, there is a sensor attached to it. Are we together now? You can see the picture of the sensor, like this one, engine speed. Sometimes the same sensor is used to take the engine speed. So as counting the teeth, it can be counting 21, 21. After 21, it knows that's moved round once. So as it's counting each teeth, it can divide because it's a computer. Are we together? So how does it know the position of 1? There is always a missing tooth that will give a pulse because this thing is magnetic. If you want to test it now, you can take a screwdriver and pass it across while you connect an oscilloscope, and you will see the signal. We all know that if you are measuring voltage, you have a sine wave. Some of these sensors, they produce a square wave. So where the teeth is missing, as it is counting, the missing teeth will give a spike. So it knows that this thing is missing, that is cylinder 1. The next thing it does is it signals the cylinder 1 coil to fire. Are we getting it now? It signals the injector to inject at the right time. That is why you don't go there and start tuning one by one like we do on some old vehicles that are pre-OBD2. Is that okay? So that is how these sensors work, both the crankshaft position sensor and the camshaft position sensor. The car may start without a camshaft position sensor, and you may not know. But it should not start, or most times will not start, without a crankshaft position sensor, or it will start and be behaving erratically. Like that. And so you are now start thinking that, okay, crankshaft, camshaft, once you've ruled out every other thing. Air intake temperature sensor, I've talked about it initially. Coolant temperature sensor, well, people call it cold start. That measures the temperature of the engine coolant. It is usually located on some vehicles. It will be located close. You can see here. No. Are we together now? You can see it. So, when the temperature of the vehicle is cold, this one tells the engine, put more fuel so that the engine can warm up quickly. Like when you start a fire at home, you want to turn the gas up. Tommy Martin hole, you go and dial it down. Are we together? If the engine coolant temperature sensor continues to tell the ECU that this engine is cold, even though it's hot, it will continue to add more fuel. And that's what we create when we say we want a permanent fan. We want to remove thermostat. It will not warm up at the time it's supposed to warm up. And more fuel is dangerous for the engine, not just for your pocket. It's dangerous for the engine. You want minimal fuel just for stoichiometric combustion. Anything that is too less is a lean condition. Excess fuel is a rich condition. You'll be having black smoke. You go to the tailpipe, you'll be having black smoke. I doubt how many vehicles don't have black smoke around us. Very few. It doesn't matter if your catalytic converter is working or not. As a matter of fact, you destroy the catalytic converter. Next, oxygen sensor. Very, very important sensor. But in Nigeria, we always ignore it because nobody does emission checks for us. Or at least the emission checks are very barely implemented as we have it abroad. We had a car come to this workshop some time ago that needed oxygen sensor. The wires were cut. The owner knew, but the owner was in US. He told me that Ford in US told him, "You are buying it to Nigeria, ignore it." He wanted to buy it, so he said he will not give money to anybody. We go to Ford dealership. Ford is a US vehicle. He went to Ford in US. They told him, "You are coming to Nigeria. Forget about it. Don't waste your money." When he told me, I said, "Oh, what did you have?" So that sensor measures the remaining oxygen that is unburnt in the exhaust gas.
Please, sir,
And
why did they say so?
because our VI will not check that, they will collect money. If they continue checking all these things, I said it yesterday, our vehicles will remain top-notch condition. Many vehicles that don't meet emission are the ones we go and buy in US. We buy cheaply, Copart and the likes. And we will bring it to Nigeria, Tokumbo, Sheshede, clean, untouched, untampered. And we'll be driving it around. But there are some people in Nigeria, you want to work on their car. You want to tamper with anything, they will tell you, no. We have people that will send their car out of Nigeria to be repaired abroad and brought back because they feel that is where they will do the ideal thing. And little by little, we remove the sensor, it doesn't matter. We remove the other sensor, it doesn't matter. The car loses its value. So the oxygen sensor measures the remaining oxygen in the vehicle. In a subsequent lecture, we may be able to check all this one by one and take measurements. Because as it is measuring it, we have two sets, depending on the type of vehicle. For 4-cylinder vehicles, you may have just two. One before the catalytic converter. That one is directly related to your fuel consumption because that's the primary feedback. I talked about feedback yesterday for the ECU. While the second one monitors the performance of the catalytic converter. So before they tell you, okay, catalyst is in the block, be sure. They will just go and sell it and collect your money. That's an aside. I won't talk too much on that. NOx sensor is one we talked about. That one measures engine peak. It's always on the engine block. Always, because it wants to measure engine vibration. On this scanner, we expect at least 2 to be on the engine block. And permit me to say that this engine is so tight that we will not be able to see it here. Because I remember on a Sienna, the workshop time that is specified is 7.5 hours just to change NOx sensor. It must use for the first bank and second bank because it's a V6 engine.
Please, OBD1.
This vehicle is
old model, 1999.
no, this should be
1999. The motor 2001. Sherry, go with that. Clean shot, crankshaft. We can only ignition B. Ignition yìí nínú bí ẹ fún mi ní star screwdriver coil wà ń bí igniter wà ń bẹ lens ten calculate sense ten cancel yẹn ó wà nù bí apá gbogbo ẹ̀ pàgbọ́ntàrí pé gbogbo ohun tá à ń fẹ́ lórí mọ́tò yìí ni pé a fẹ́ save epo ní Nàìjíríà still a sì ní problem òun la wá bá dórí pé kán fún wa ní latest model ẹ rí pé OBD wọn bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti 1979 àṣẹ títí wọ 1996 la change nígbà tó di pé àwọn BM wọ́n gbé data list connection wọn èmi àgbé sábẹ́ safe èmi àgbé sínú inú PGO ẹ̀ nígbà tá a dé táwọn ẹsẹ̀ wá parapọ̀ tí organisation engineer tán ní rárá o ẹ jẹ́ ká parapọ̀ ká tiri no vate kìíní ká tù sí náà wá ibo la lè gbé sí láfi ní ká máa gbé sí abẹ́ dashboard gbogbo àwọn mọ́tò ẹ̀rí pé latest Benz wọn gbé síbi tán gbé sí tẹ́lẹ̀ mọ́ wọ́n ti dá padà sábẹ́ ibi nǹkan ti wọ́bọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan tẹ́ẹ̀ tètè rí òní DCLC data link connector tamanki nǹkan bọ̀ ẹ̀rí pé lórí wáyà yìí báyìí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wò díẹ̀ ẹ̀rí pé wáyà yóò pọ̀ this OBD1 irú socket wà nù mọ́tò yìí ni bẹ́ẹ̀ bá yọ mọ́tò yìí socket wà ní bí pọ̀ gan-an ńgbà tí ń dí àṣẹ mọ́tò tí wọ́n ní ńgbà bó lẹ ṣe wọ́n bọ́ sí rọrí wọ́n ní this our data link line wọ́n pe kíní kan ní K-line nínú ìwé tẹ́sí fún wa nínú handout wa ẹ rí pé akọbì kan wọ́n pè ní K-line àwọn tó kọ́kọ́ mú jáde ní Volkswagen BMW Ford Benz ńgbà táwọn tán ṣe àwọn Toyota tán dé tán bèrè lọ pé bóńtà àwọn náà wá mú kíní tí wọ́n jáde number 13 make model specific ẹ bọ̀ wá tí wá dé pé à K-line ti wá o ìtàn fẹ́rẹ̀ wọ́n wá fún ẹ ní ojú kan nínú OBD a ní 16 sockets ojú 16 yẹn wá fún ẹnì kankan lẹ́yọ̀ kankan bá ti mú wá wọ́n àtàṣe ẹ̀mọ́bì kan wọ́n fi ẹ̀sí ẹyọ kan bẹ̀ bá a ṣe kúrò lórí ignition tàrí pé wàhálà tá à ń fẹ́ tá a sì fẹ́ kó stop lórí kò tí ò stop la fi wá wá sí orí OBD2 this OBD2 wàá lo kọ́ìlì ẹyọ kan mọ́ 10 spanner 10.
Ọ̀gá Kẹ́hìndé spanner.
Gbogbo ń tà wọ́n abẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan tá a rí yẹn báyẹn wo oxygen sensor ẹ̀rí ibi tó wà báyìí.
This is the oxygen sensor. Yes.
ẹ̀rí ibi tó wà ẹ̀rí kó wọ́n ń ta
on the exhaust.
NOx sensor ó wá láàárín inlet manifold ẹ wo air mass sensor láyé àwọn BM à ń lo air flowmeter ǹjẹ́ tó mà láyé air flowmeter yẹn ẹ̀rí pé mọ́tò kan à ń lọ ọ́fíìsì ọ̀lẹ́kùn mọ̀rùkún máa gbé wá wọ́n pè ní Camry 3S air flowmeter a máa adjust yẹ a máa ń yí gbẹ́pẹ́ bá fẹ́ pọ̀ jù wọ́n máa tó pé gbóhùn tá à ń ṣe a ṣì ń kó bá mọ́tò òun la fi wá bọ́ sórí air mass sensor yẹn kò ṣeé yí star screwdriver ńgbà tán ṣe tán di gbogbo ẹrù wọn pa sínú ẹ̀ wọ́n wá fún ní resistor méjì bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti start mọ́tò a máa gbóná bátẹ́gùn bá ṣe ń wọnú ẹ̀ a máa kúlẹ̀ bátẹ́gùn bá ṣe ń kúlẹ̀ yẹn la máa regulate epo mọ́tò àárí 10 spanner àárí screwdriver. àrùn mẹ́rin tẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ ẹ̀ ni mo ṣe sọ̀rọ̀ nípa air mass NOx sensor. So ibi tá a bá dé lásìkò yìí orí ibi tó ti yẹ kábẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan mi dàgbà àtètè rí latest mọ́tò la fi ní ká lo àwọn jalopy òkè òkun yìí eléyìí tiẹ̀ kò ní ìwọ.
Compression test. What we call what? Compression test. And because we have this vehicle, 10 mm spanner.
So why you not? Hello 1 2. Hello 1 2.
Hello 1 2.
Hello.
ní ojú kan dẹ̀ ní nǹkan mẹ́ta ló ń ṣiṣẹ́ papọ̀ lójú yẹn à ń pè kan ní coil ìkan plug àbí tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ papọ̀ lójú yẹn ìkan nozzle ó jẹ́ nǹkan mẹ́ta lẹ́ẹ̀kan nǹkan kẹrin tó ń ṣe papọ̀ níbẹ̀ ní piston ring and bí ojú yìí bí ò bá ti wá ní pressure tó yẹ kó ní coil á máa misfiring iṣẹ́ mọ́tò yẹn ò ní pé a ní ojú yóò dáa and kí ló dẹ̀ ń ṣiṣẹ́ lójú kan yìí nǹkan mẹ́ta péré ni atẹ́gùn iná epo bọ́n bá ti pàdé bí space bá ti wà tí valve ṣí tí iná ráyè kọjá tí atẹ́gùn pàdé ẹ̀ tó bọ́ sí accurate iṣẹ́ mọ́tò á pé bó ṣe yẹ kó pé bẹ́ẹ̀ bí ojú yẹn ò bá ti dáa bóyá ríǹgì ti weak tí engine yẹn ti miss oil coil á ṣiṣẹ́ plug á ṣiṣẹ́ nọ́ọ̀sì á ṣiṣẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ojú kan yẹn ò ní ṣe kí ni o kò ní wà òkè ibi tá a ti wá nídìí machine yẹn ni tá a wá di àtú plug ojú yìí wọ́n bá dé mọ́ ẹ bá start yẹ á rí ìdí ibi tó yẹ kó dé bí ò bá dó yàtọ̀ pé ojú estate ní problem.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. God bless you, sir. Mr. Kennedy, 16 plug spanner. This is the compression tester. There are so many systems in the vehicle where we use compression testers. So we have different types tailored for different systems. For example, the fuel system pressure tester, it will look like this also, but the connectors are designed to be able to handle volatile fluids, petrol. Is that okay? Yes. While this one is designed to handle air pressure and to be able to read the pressure that may be developed within a cylinder. Why do we decide we want to check pressure within a cylinder? We want to be sure that an engine can develop power. If the engine cannot develop power, even if you have fuel and the injector is working optimally, you have spark plug, if it can't hold compression, then you will not develop power. One only. Are we together? Yes. So you want to be sure that it can develop power. And because of time, we'll not be able to take the readings like I took, because we are supposed to take readings on each of the cylinders. So in the absence of, I was hoping that we will get it. 16, long 16. This has the same thread like your spark plug. And what you will do is, you attach this into the spark plug hole and disable the ignition for the vehicle, such that, for example, if you are using a very old vehicle or not old vehicle where you have a distributor system, you don't want high voltage to be grounded wrongly on the vehicle and destroy your ECU. So you want to make sure that you adequately isolate the ignition system. You also want to make sure that you isolate the fuel system so that when you are running the engine, because you actually have to crank the engine, you make sure that you are not flooding the engine with fuel. So you want to disable the fuel supply. You can simply do that by removing the fuel pump fuse. Is that okay? Or relay, as the case may be. You may not have to be disabling each injector one by one. Then, of course, in the case of this coil unplug, you've disabled this coil by removing its connector. So the ECU will not be able to ground it and render a spark while you are cranking. So once you connect this, you crank for like 5 seconds. Some people will tell you to count for like 6 revolutions. Cranking speed is normally higher than idle speed. Normally you will take pressure reading for cranking speed. When you start the caliper, you take pressure reading. You can start with the remaining cylinders and you take pressure reading at idle. And sometimes you bump the throttle. But this is electronic, you will not be able to really do that bumping. And you want to be calculating or comparing readings across board. Yes, sir. Now, let me just quickly add while we are removing that the sequel to this compression test is what we call leak down test. In that case, for example, if this car is smoking, for example, and is failing to develop adequate power, and you are sure the plugs, the coils, every other thing is okay, you have checked, you have put OBD scanner, and not see any other obvious fault, you attach, as is being demonstrated here, and you take readings. And you are not getting conclusive readings. Check out your.
Bó ṣe wà yìí, a fẹ́ test. In tó lè mú wa ká gbé pressure or testimony sórí engine pé bóyá à ń ṣe mọ́tò àti diagonal àtàṣorí kan the same fault kan lóye kan pé bóyá ojú kan ò dáa.
That's it.
Àwọn nǹkan tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ lójú yẹn which is plug, coil and nozzle. Àwa yọ wáyà nozzle yẹn sílẹ̀ bá a ṣe ń lo ẹ̀rọ eléyìí ni mò ń ṣàlàyé yìí o. Mo ti yọ wáyà tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún nọ́ọ̀sì sílẹ̀ bàbá ti wá ṣe ojú yìí àní kan start mọ́tò ẹ̀ start. Ẹ fẹ́ wo prayer tó wà lójú ẹyọkan yẹn.
Check it without running the engine.
Ṣe rojú yìí báyìí ojú yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rán ní báyìí kò ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú àwọn kìnìún wọn and bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fẹ́ start mọ́tò ojú mẹ́ta yẹn á máa ṣiṣẹ́ sílẹ̀ ojú kan yóò ní ṣiṣẹ́ prayer piston pẹ̀lú ring bó ṣiṣẹ́ sí bó ṣe wà òkè sí lẹ́fẹ̀ẹ́ wò láàrin sorry ẹ̀rọ ẹ̀fẹ̀ díẹ̀.
You can observe that the value is increasing as the engine is being revved. That's we have about 130 psi there on that engine.
Ojú yẹn ò dáa láàrin ring àní ring mẹ́rin lójú kan bóyá pé ring yìí ò dáa wọ́n ti start mọ́tò yìí tí fẹ́ yẹn lọ pé kò ní stable á máa padà tẹ́lá tó ń ṣàkóso òkè bí àtúpadà náà pé ojú yẹn ṣe kí ni o ojú yẹn ò dáa. Bá ṣe test block láì pé a ní ìdí àti tu àwọn ìsàn kọ́sọ́mà pé ẹ sá o ẹ́ńjì mọ́tò yìí kò dáa o òun ló fà tí mọ́tò yìí ò fi lè gbéra ọ̀ kó overtake lẹ́sẹ̀ òkè and bójú yóò bá dẹ̀ gbádùn immediately ní knock sensor abẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹ̀ṣẹ́ interpret knock sensor ni pé wọ́n ló máa ń wá strange noise lára mọ́tò iṣẹ́ knock sensor nìyẹn ẹ rí pé àwọn generator tá à ń lò nínú ilé ẹ paná mọ́tò yẹn ẹ̀rí pé àwọn generator tá à ń lò nínú ilé wọ́n bá ti rà á ní knock sensor bàbá service generator àtọ́rí pé generator ti due for service a máa pariwo bí knock sensor bá ti lè gbọ́ strange noise the next thing á pa iná generator mo dẹ̀ jẹ́rọ àwọn èèyàn wa àwọn engineer mechanical àdébẹ̀ àyọ̀wá yẹn sọnù ọwọ́ kan ní generator tún bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ bẹ̀ títí tẹ́ǹkì á ṣe kí ni o káfí knock a ò ní gbọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ nínú mọ́tò wọ́n ṣe knock sensor ní gbogbo ọ̀sẹ̀ pé òyìnbó ṣe kó lè dáàbò bo mọ́tò ká má kóra wa sí ìnáwó bí nọ́ọ̀sì bá bí mọ́tò yóò bá bí bá gbádùn bí nọ́ọ̀sì bá wà láì tọ́yìn tí ìyọ̀ wáyà bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fẹ́ overtake kò ní gbéra á padà bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tún bá tẹ́yìn tẹ́sí ló jẹ́jẹ́ á máa lọ kò sì yẹ kó lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fẹ́ rèsì ẹ̀ lọ́pọ̀ kẹ́ rèsì ẹ̀ kan lẹ̀ assist áìdù this tọ́tù àtúntò assist iná tó wà ń bẹ̀ mọ́tò yẹn ò ní rèsì kan lẹ̀ iṣẹ́ tí knock sensor ń ṣe nìyẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá dẹ̀ yọ kúrò kò ní kí mọ́tò má rìn immediate tẹ́ bá ti yọ kúrò wáyà yẹn kan bridge ojú ẹ̀ papọ̀ mọ́tò yẹn á máa rìn bó ṣe yẹ kó rìn until tá knock tá pieces.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I just want to point out that when you are taking these readings, because what we are doing here now, we are online. That's why I'm trying to put English as much as possible. We have people that are viewing us online. You take this reading by disabling ignition across all cylinders you have on the vehicle so that you can take what we call a baseline reading. That's the ideal thing you do. Now that we have started the vehicle, you would have done that second. And as the vehicle came in, the vehicle is already warm. The best readings you want to refer to are on a warm engine where the system is operating as it should be. So if there's going to be seating of the rings or the valves, everything will be in or close to operating condition. Now, I know people will ask, but let me just quickly say this. Sorry, sir. Sir. What reading are you expecting to get? If you check this thing, ordinarily what wanted us to do initially, if we had disabled it, we crank this thing without starting the engine. You see the pressure building up. For a very, very sound engine, you expect it to be able to build up pressure within 2 cranks. But when you are testing, like I said initially, you crank maybe like 5 seconds or maybe 6 cranks and see the maximum reading you have, then you write it down. You check for all cylinders across board and you write it down and you are able to compare readings between each cylinder. Let's take, for example, we have about 130 psi on this. If you check for the other one, I know I put sample readings in our book. If you check across and you have maybe the next one, 138, you check another one, 140, you check another one, 134. depending on how accurate the resolution of your dial is. Then somebody like me will say, okay, there's no problem because those values are pretty much close. Or you have 160, 160, 165, another 155. The values are just barely 10% apart. There's a whole lot to this that we can read up on. And then you say this engine may not necessarily have problems. But you want to pinpoint, maybe for example now, you now check this reading. And when others are average of 130, you now have a single cylinder, like he has said, that is maybe 60 psi. And you know the customer has come and has complained, possibly a misfire, or the engine is jacking, or whatever reason. You now want to isolate that cylinder and be sure what else you are doing is then you use a leak down tester. That's the one that has double gauge in that place. That was the reason I was connecting the air compressor. You use your air compressor and connect the leak down tester. But if you don't have a leak down tester, a quick way of doing it, the leak down tester will give you the percentage of leakage in the engine while that cylinder is not building pressure. But we all know from what he has said earlier that you need the piston rings to be in order. You need fuel, you need all that. For the system to build pressure, it means the valves must be in order. The rings must be in order. If it is not in order, how do you know without opening up the engine? You will check a percentage. Tolerable readings range from 0 to 15%. Some people say 20% is still okay. Some people say if you don't have up to 40%, you can just ignore the system and continue using the vehicle. And then so you now start having subjective feeling, but you as a person must be the one to now determine where exactly the fault is. So like I said, that gauge we allow you to read. Please let me bring the next gauge there, the one that has double dials. Yes. So this is the cousin to this. I use this a lot. These days I don't usually use it again. And you connect this to your air source and connect the other end, just the same way we have connected this to the engine. Now, the safety, although I prepared a slightly more elaborate manual on all of this. The safety on this is you make sure your engine is on top dead center compression. It's very, very important. People can injure themselves. And if it's not on top dead center compression, of course, the cylinder will not be sealed. Then you will not get your reading. You know there are two top dead centers. You have top dead center, beginning of your inlet of fuel. But you need top dead center compression, wherein the spark would have fired. That way, you test each cylinder one by one. You turn it manually. You attach your 22 sockets to your crankshaft, for example, and turn to top dead center. You load air pressure here. You have a reference pressure. For example, you can load this this has a dial. You dial this, for example, and load it at 100 psi. Our compressor here has a regulator. You load 100 psi into the system. Is that okay? And you check the percentage. If you see that this dial is rated in reverse from 0 down to 100. If you have 100, it means it's not holding any pressure. It means the system is totally faulty. Of course, you can check gasket, check seals, check piston ring, check the valve stems and the valve themselves and all that. But you want to see that the acceptable range is within this green range on your leak down tester. So this gauge will read. There is no engine that can give you 100%. Yeah. So there will be some percentage of leakage. And then you will now start listening across. But if you don't want to use this and you just want to do a quick job, once you connect this, you just connect shop air to this. You connect shop air to this. You connect this into the shop air fitting. For example, if this is my shop air hose, you can just connect this to this. We have those quick disconnect fittings. And remember, this must be a top dead center compression. That way, you now listen. Now we are having our compressor noise, but you listen for where you are having leakage of the air. Where can it be leaking? If it is leaking through the rings, if that is your problem, before opening the engine, it will be bubbling through this. So you open this, you'll be listening to your oil hole. You'll be hearing the air, yes. You'll be hearing it. And then you will know that, oh, these rings are having issues. None of them will be 100%. But you will notice that one is high. You will hear it. You will know that this thing, the air is rushing out. Then you can say, oh, the rings on this cylinder are short. So before you even open, you know where you are going. Also, you want to make sure that you open your throttle body. You can just open this, and you hear it leaking through the throttle body. If it is leaking through that, you know that air comes in through here, through the inlet valve. Then if it is leaking out through the inlet valve, of course, you'll be hearing the sound through the throttle, the inlet here. Is that okay? So you're able to say, oh, the valves on this cylinder are bad. Especially if you have maybe 2 valves per cylinder, 4 valves per cylinder, you know that, okay, your inlet valves are bad. If it is on the exhaust, you go and listen for the exhaust on the silencer, and you'll be hearing the air coming out. And you know that, oh, exhaust valves on this cylinder are possibly broken, burnt through, or whatever error would have happened to the exhaust valve. And you can also have pistons that are broken. It may not even be the rings. It may be the piston itself that has burnt through and is leaking air into the crankcase. And then you're able to listen to that also through here. Sometimes, if you take reading across cylinders, where I said documenting the other time, if you discover that maybe cylinder 2 in this case and cylinder 3, their values are consecutively low. You have 150 here, you have 100 here, 100 here, or 105 here, you have 150 here. You'll be questioning, why are these too low? It could be that the gasket in between both of them are burnt through, even though the remaining part of the system is fine, and they'll be breathing to each other. And then, of course, you'll be noticing misfire. There's a reason why you perform all these tests. And of course, these are the reasons you want to do that. So this allows us to give conclusive diagnosis before you start saying, we want to open this engine, we are going to perform so, and so. Are we clear with what we have just explained so far? Okay, sir. No, Kati. Chat you plug in, sir.
Ben.
Okay, no, mo fẹ́ track.
Time will see.
Bó tó fẹ́ jáde ṣé kò fi títà ni bó tó fẹ́ jáde.
Ẹ ti síwájú ni.
Ọlọ́pàá ti síwájú. Jáde kó ráyè ṣe, ó lè máa.
Ṣé kó jáde tó àbí kán ti síwájú?
Ẹ bá pa ọba náà.
Kọ́kọ́rọ́ ìwé rẹ̀.
Takayede.
Now what we have done the other time, we have set a code P300301 on that cylinder. We are going to check that and make sure we clear it. P0301. Cylinder 1 is fire. Ọlá Jésù. Ọlá Jésù workshop.
Ẹ máa bọ̀.
Sir?
Demonstrate a little to you. So like I said, we would have a misfire code for cylinder 1 on this vehicle because we started it whilst the plug and ignition coils were out. I want to confirm those codes using the diagnostic scanner of Mr. Olaiya here. Any scanner you have, we do the job. Any scanner you have, we do the job. Just know how to use the scanner. Ignition. Okay. Okay, you are with us. Please, let's come around. If we have a few moments just before we round up. And for our Think Car diagnostic now, Mokeka Kolosi will be the direct. Come on. Camera and read it. So we are connecting to the car. The module is inside. The module we have used now is a wireless module running on Bluetooth with the software on the phone. No, like no, can you display? So we can see searching for the protocol of the vehicle. Like we said, now searching, please wait. And once it detects it, it's going to connect and you can see this software now is performing some other function, reading the VIN. That's the vehicle, Toyota. Camry, 2004, Europe and others. Now we just want to select, this is the introductory page, okay. So we want it to scan the vehicle. And wait for it to load the codes.
Auto scan. Engine.
Engine, yes, please.
Airbag. Loading engine. Only 40 meter.
All right. So now, we have 3 codes on the engine system. I want to confirm our read fault code. And like I said before, we see an oxygen sensor code 136. Okay, we have pending. That pending, another name for pending, as we have said earlier, was what? Hidden code. And some other manufacturers, we call it what? Shadow codes and all that. It means a code that is not fully registered, but we still have it here also as current. So, Mrs. Omole, we have an oxygen sensor fault on your vehicle. Most likely, the wiring has cut, and if it hasn't cut, that sensor may not be responding again because we have it as a coil primary secondary circuit fault. And we have a 351 ignition coil A, because we removed the ignition. A is the first coil, and you can see it. I said it the other time. We are going to have a code for the ignition coil on that circuit, And we also have 2238, which existed before, history in this case. So this diagnosis scanner also has history, a fault that has existed before. So if you are working on a vehicle, you want to buy a vehicle for whatever reason, they've cleared the fault code, no check engine light, or the vehicle is clean. You can use this and check. And you say, this vehicle has had so issues before. And you are able to ask, why did you clear this code, or what happened? Okay, it had this issue and we repaired it, and if you are satisfied, you go ahead. If you are not satisfied, you either walk away or choose whatever action to do. Is that okay? So now that we have this, we can just clear the fault memory. Say, are you sure? Yes. It will clear that fault memory so that if we have any other problem after this, we know that it wasn't caused by what we did the other time. Are we okay, please? Yes. Now, the other test we wanted to carry out, or that we want to demonstrate, is testing. People used to tell me, oh, my vehicle is overheating. They don't know where the water is leaking. Or every morning I top my water, every two days. Or if I drive within town from home to the workplace, it doesn't have issue. But if I travel to Akure, it will overheat on the road. And I won't know where it is leaking. They've tried. We bought new radiator. Yes, a man came here. These people that cut grass, that bring machine. He parked here, they opened the engine. A Toyota Camry, like this too. And I just asked him, my mind said, go and ask him the question, what's wrong? Since he's in front of the workshop and I needed to enter. And he blocked the way. He told me that he has changed the engine after the first engine got spoiled. This new engine he bought, it has burnt gasket, and the vehicle was still overheating. Then I just asked him a simple question. Have you ever changed this cap? And that was the problem. I went to town to buy 500 naira cap, and he didn't call me back till today, but he has changed engine, he has changed gasket, and this was the problem. This is a pressure relief valve for the cooling system of the vehicle. This is a safety gateway for this vehicle, rather than blow up the radiator or blow up your gasket or whatever. Once the pressure within the engine rises and the water is becoming so pressurized, this is designed to take maximum of 15 psi. And then you will see it reaching 1.1. That's 1.1 bar. If you convert it to psi, you will have about 800, yes, psi. Am I speaking correctly now? Not 800 psi now. What's this other pressure? Yes. So, but just know that you see 0.9. And once a coach depending on what the manufacturer has designed for, once it gets to that pressure, these vents and the water comes into this overflow tank. That's why they always put a full mark that is below full. At that point, it is okay. If it is working, the water can rise, but it has space. It won't pour away. At the moment when you get back home, after your journey, and you park, sometimes you discover that the fan will pick up and be rising. It will be running on high speed, just to rapidly, because now no more air cooling from emotion. So it will rapidly cool the vehicle. Some you even turn it down. After turning off, the fan will still be running to bring the pressure down within control. And then the fan will go off. Is that okay?
What of the one with electrical?
Yes, electrical is what I'm saying. Electrical, exactly, is what I'm saying. So by the moment this engine has been packed and the engine cools completely, there will be a partial vacuum created within the cooling system, and it will suck back the water back into, or the coolant, that's the correct term, because you're expected to run coolant. It will suck back the coolant back into the engine, but you discover that you keep topping and topping. Okay. And you keep topping and topping and topping. Then you connect that pressure gauge. Somebody, I think I dropped it. Once you connect the pressure gauge to this, you open this cap. Once you have certified that this cap is okay, of course you can do visual inspection. I hope this is cool. You connect it to this cap and lock it, and you pump to 15 psi. It must not be more than 15 psi. Alternatively, what you can do is you connect, if this cap is okay, you can remove this and isolate it and connect a pressure relief to this system while you dial your pressure valve to 15 psi. It must not be more than, because you can destroy the system. You can just burst the engine or burst your cooling pipes. So you connect it here and load 15 psi to the engine. You just leave it, either of the steps that I've demonstrated. You will see where the water is leaking. It could be some of these holes that are on the engine that are meant to service the water. It could be the pipe. Some leaks will only occur when the engine temperature has risen, and you will not see it, because as it's coming out as steam, so you will not see the leakage. You just got that in the morning, the water has gone down. So once you connect 15 psi of air You just observe, give it 5 minutes. You'll be seeing the water leaking. We've done it for the assistant deputy boss's vehicle. He brought it here, and we discovered that the leak was coming from his radiator that they have sealed, and thereby we bought a new radiator. And after that, when he complained of overheating, I told him, let them open the engine. Of course, he uses a Toyota, and change the water pump, and that was the end of overheating. The car always came into this workshop before. So those are things that you do, and you just go straight to the point, and of course, the job becomes neater, easier, and you remove guesswork. The other sensors, the other kits that we use, pressure testers for fuel, you just isolate the fuel system and connect it. Either on the front line here, you want to isolate and test the fuel pump. Before you say fuel pump new there, you can always test. It's not always you say could return. You can test and check the pressure against the standard pressure that is required for the vehicle or that has been designed by the pump manufacturer. And I will hand over to Mr. Olaya to round up with us. I will be back if there are any questions for me.
Down.
Is this my vehicle? Yes.
You will answer.
Okay. Ní ètò ìbílẹ̀ ní mọ́tò yìí tí bá ti start ẹ̀ kí tó yẹ láti bí ó máa wọ half ní gauge ẹ̀. Ṣé ìyẹn mi tó ní temperature gauge ó máa wọ half kò dẹ̀ ní kúrò ńbẹ̀ tó bá ti kúrò ńbẹ̀ ó ti tán nìyẹn.
Ìdí tó fi wá fún mi pé mọ́tò yìí ṣe ní temperature ó ṣe ní thermostat nínú.
Ìwọ ló ti jẹ́ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó ń lọ́tẹ̀ lórí thermostat yẹn.
Èkó sọ pé mo jí.
Ẹ sà ṣé àrí bí thermostat bá sí inú mọ́tò yìí iṣẹ́ ò tí ì pé bó ṣe pé
Ṣé iṣẹ́ ìdójú àwọn pé bá ṣe.
iṣẹ́ mọ́tò yìí ò dún. Ṣé rí mọ́tò tẹ bá start láàárọ̀ tí temperature wà ní half tí ò padà thermostat ẹ ṣe wà òkè. Bẹ̀tẹ̀ tẹ bá start láàárọ̀ látàárọ̀ sún àtàlẹ́ tí temperature wà ń sàlẹ̀ wọ́n ti yọ thermostat kúrò. And kò yẹ kí mọ́tò dẹ̀ máa gbóná kó máa tutù all the time. Ẹ wúro ti radiator tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn báyìí ọ̀pọ̀ ẹgbà lomi mọ́tò máa ń leak. Àwọn náà rọ mi sí mọ́tò nígbà tán rọ mi sí àárọ̀ ó máa ń gba omi kọ́ọ̀pù kan ìgbà mi á gba omi ìlàjì kọ́ọ̀pù. Ọ̀pọ̀ ẹgbà rọ́bà ẹnu kínní lásán gbogbo náà. Rọ́bà yìí valve kékeré bó bá ti jẹ omi á máa leak. Á máa leak. Ẹlòmíì ńgbà tó bá ti rọ omi bíi tó rọ tó kún tán a tún wá ṣí rọ́bà yìí àwọn arọ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti wá rọ ilé ìkún kò sọgbọ́n tẹ́ ẹ rí dá sí omi mọ́tò á bẹ̀ sí short. Bí dápẹ́ tí mọ́tò bá ti sinmi tán tẹ park àwọn omi kan wà tó máa padà sínú bí bó bá tó bá omi ń bì òun náà bẹ̀ sí rú dànù. Táyà tó yẹ kí atẹ́gùn kó wọ bíi kélé lè àṣọ kó fa omi wọlé overheating àwa bẹ̀rẹ̀. Nǹkan kẹta tó tún lè jẹ́ kí mọ́tò kó máa dry omi òun ni gasket. Mo rò pé alámọ̀ gasket ibi tá a ti fún mọ́tò lórúkọ tá a ti pe mọ́tò ní 2.10 3 kìíní kan litre àárín gasket yìí bó bá ti flat bí mọ́tò bá ti rìn bá ti dé level kan omi yẹn á máa mí lára ẹ̀ mí rẹ̀ pé òun ló cover omi ojú block omi yẹn á máa waste. Bàbá dẹ̀ ṣí láàárọ̀ àgbà omi ń dẹ̀ wọ̀ díẹ̀ ló kàn drop kò tí ì lọlẹ̀ tán ó ti ń rẹ̀. Irú mọ́tò bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti lè start yẹ láàárọ̀ kẹ́tọ́rin bí ìdérò ọ́fíìsì wọn yẹn báyìí temperature ti wà láàrin. Ẹ̀ ń pe gasket ṣe kí ni o ti ń flat. Water pump ó ní water pump yìí náà ẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ bó bá ti di pọ́ ń bàjẹ́ tó ń jẹ ẹ̀mọ̀ pé ó máa ń jẹ ní bí kéni bí ò bá ti pump omi bó ṣe yẹ kó pump mọ́ omi á máa leak. Ó ní wò kan lára ń sàlẹ̀ yìí ẹ rí i pé láàárọ̀ ẹ máa wo traces ní abẹ́ compressor yìí wọ́n lómi ẹ̀ ò dẹ̀ jo bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe ń rìn lómi yẹn ń waste torí seal tó ń pump kínní yẹn bó bá ti di pé bẹ́ẹ̀ sí ń jẹ ní wàhálà dé. Ká padà sí cylinder 1 láì fi pressure test absolute machine wà tó máa ń read láì fi sí ìjẹ́ mẹ́pà lè mọ̀ bí cylinder ojú yóò bá dá. Àwọn mọ́tò iṣẹ́ ò pé àtú gbogbo nǹkan wà òkè bàbá tú plug yìí ẹ̀ rí pé wọ́n á ní plug wet bẹ̀tẹ̀lómi ò ní kíyèsí bàbá gbóòrùn ẹ̀mí ò lè jẹ́ epo bó ẹ pé epo ló dà sójú plug àti mọ̀ pé nozzle problem ni bẹ́ẹ̀ bá yẹ pé oil àti mọ̀ pé oil tó lè dénú bíi ó wá láti bo látara ring. àtàrà ring ló ti wá. ẹ wá wo nínú fọ́ọ̀tì mẹ́rin táǹkà látàárọ̀ ní mọ́tò yìí ṣàpé ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì àìtí ìtìrìtẹ̀ ríbi kan gbogbo ṣẹ́ mọ́tò yìí lè pé kí mọ́tò yìí dẹ̀ tọ́nà ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì nínú ìwé wa yẹn ṣẹ́rí kọ́kọ́ síbẹ̀ àwò débẹ̀ wọ́n ní táǹkì epo wa ẹ wá wo ọ̀pọ̀ ìgbà àwọn tán ti epo fún wa tún lè rán wa lọ gba mẹkáníìkì. kékeré ẹ̀ lè máa fọ. àwọn tó ń tepo fún wa wọ́n tún lè rán wa lọ lé mẹkáníìkì wọ́n bá tẹ epo sí táǹkì wa wọ́n tán ní káwò ni pé wọ́n bá ti di kíná ní kó ṣe o wọ́n á ní kó click kó dún ní ẹ̀mélòó ẹ̀ẹ̀méjì ọ̀ ẹ̀kan ẹ bá wọn kan tán kọ síbí.
tight cap anti clips or manufacturing indicator lamp leg common.
wọ́n ní kẹ́ ẹ̀ táìtì ẹ̀ dáadáa ọ̀hún bẹ́ẹ̀ bá táìtì ẹ̀ dáadáa manufacturing light MIL light yẹn á ṣe kí ni o á tàn án lẹ̀. ṣẹ̀kú wà nù wàyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ kàn bẹ̀ this can't be ó wà ń bẹ̀ kí n kàn ní ó wọ́pọ̀ sí i bí n bá ra epo nílé epo bó bá dé komi gbà ẹ lọ màá bọ́ọ̀lẹ̀ pé idiot ni ẹ o lè ná mi lọ́lẹ̀ mechanic wọ́n jọ́ kò mú fún mi lé epo pé kàá kí náà kọ síbi wọ́n ní bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti kìkì ní ìlú pẹ́ẹ́pẹ́ẹ́m lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ta iná ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì àtàn. ok mo wá ṣe mọ́tò lé mechanic wọ́n parí ẹ̀ mo wá gbé mọ́tò lọ mo wá fọ́tò mo ní kí n re epo mo wá rí epo mọ́tò padà tán nílẹ̀ kí ló máa ṣẹlẹ̀. ìgbà tí mechanic àwọ̀ ìyá àjà iná ebi iná tẹ lẹ́ẹ̀pa ló tún tàn yín á tún da wàhálà. so àwọn nǹkan tí kinní wọ̀nyí tó wà fún nínú ọkọ̀ nìyẹn. ẹlòmíà ṣe mọ́tò gbàtàn bá ṣe ẹ́ńjì tán wọ́n á yọ knock sensor akànjú dára ní kò sí nǹkan tó wúlò fún bẹ́ẹ̀ àná ó dẹ̀ ń ṣiṣẹ́ tó pọ̀ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ lára mọ́tò. bí knock sensor bá ti lè bàjẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan tí yàn ṣe nu mọ́tò wàhálà dé nìyẹn. knock sensor kì í jẹ́ kí mọ́tò overtake àwọn onímọ́tò wọn ò ní pick down ìjà pé knock sensor lè grip mọ́tò kó má ní pick down. knock sensor ń ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú ẹ́ńjì ó tún ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú ABS ilé náà ní ABS irú mọ́tò yín báyìí irú Honda ọ̀gá ẹ̀rípò lé ABS bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tẹ mọ́tò bí yàn kan mọ́tò ló tẹ́kàn tẹ gbàm ABS kọ́ ló mú bírèkì mọ́tò servo master àbí pẹ̀lú brake pad but àwọn wáyà kan wà tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú ABS ìmílẹ̀ tẹ́ bá ti lè tẹ brake òòlà signal fún ABS dẹ̀ ní gbogbo ohun tó wà lára mọ́tò ló máa grip first thing a ó dìnnà mọ́tò ní race once tí mọ́tò bá ti lè rev kí ló kù jíà ò ní lè gbéra so ò ní lè kọlu mọ́tò bẹ̀tẹ̀ ló wọn á ní kan yọkùnrin àti yọ wọn á ti gé wọn á ti bridge ẹ̀ wọn á ti yọ ọwọ́ ẹ̀ kúrò ẹ̀rí pé akọ̀ tẹ̀ brake akọ̀ fọ́ akọ̀ wọ́ lọ bá mọ́tò ní mọ́tò gbàm. so iṣẹ́ tí knock sensor tó ń ṣe lára mọ́tò ó pọ̀ gan-an ju bí tá a yànnà ní ẹ̀dẹ́ yìí mo kàn rí pé ẹ̀kan fún wa lélẹ̀ fún sẹ́mínà fún evermont kákan lè mọ díẹ̀ nínú ẹ̀ ni bí n bá tún bèrè báyìí pé láìsí kọ̀ǹpútà kí la tún lè fi wo mọ́tò wa torí mo rí pé ti kà yín mo ti kà nù ìwé yín o ṣàbẹ̀kú mọ́tò yìí ní mini kọ̀ǹpútà tiẹ̀ náà lọ́tọ̀ ẹ ti mọ bẹ̀ ń bolo wa òun náà ṣò fún yín látẹ̀ẹ̀kan yẹn lójú bọ́ọ̀dù wa yìí ẹ ṣó ẹ̀ nínú ìwé wa yìí bí wọn bá jí láàárọ̀ bó bá start ìwọ fún ara ẹ̀ lákọ́kọ́ ṣe kí ni o ládàgò náà ìsì mọ́tò ẹ kó tó di pé ẹnikẹ́ni bá ṣe láti bá yín wò ó iná wọ̀nyí ó wà lójú mini kọ̀ǹpútà wa àwa là ń pè ní dashboard this is our mini computer. ẹ wo sá ẹ bá ń ṣẹlẹ̀ kú yìí this is our mini computer this brake light ẹ one brake right ẹ wo iná break kí ló ṣe yẹn ó tàn mo pa ó kú this oil light bí oil ò bá sínú mọ́tò á tàn lẹ̀ iná bátìrì rẹ̀ bí bátìrì bá ṣáàjì kí láṣẹ o á tàn lẹ̀ this maintenance requirement bí mọ́tò bá due fún service iná yẹn á máa tàn á máa sọ fún nìkan pé mo ti tó service ẹja start mọ́tò yìí ẹ wo nǹkan iná oil kí ló ṣe ó kú iná bátìrì ó kú maintenance requirement báyìí mọ́tò yìí bóyá lẹ́yìn tó ní bóyá náà ṣe gbé machine sí rí ọ̀ kan gbèsè kan máa regulate ya bó bá dé level kan báyìí brain box mọ́tò àti ṣìkìnnà bẹ̀ sí yọnu wọn à ní mọ ohun tó ṣe in the sense that ńgbà tí náà tán lẹ̀ pé òun ti due fún service ó yẹ kán gbọ́ bá service ẹ̀tọ́ di next kí mechanic wí machine sí kán reset ẹ̀ padà bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tún wá tún reset ẹ̀ ó dọjọ́ tí náà yìí bá tàn kó tó di pán service mọ́tò yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló máa ní àwọn mọ́tò yẹn ti lẹ̀ Ìbàdàn lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́rin ó ti lẹ̀ Èkó lẹ́ẹ̀mejì jẹ́kùn service ẹ̀ á tún ju ọ́ìlì bó bá dẹ̀ ti ju ọ́ìlì yẹn mọ́tò ò mọ̀ ẹ́ pé ó service o ó dọjọ́ tí náà yìí bá kú. ìdí tá a fi pèlè ní mini computer nìyẹn bóyá mo wá sábà pé iná yóò kú máa pe mẹkáníìkì mi mọ́tò yìí ní fọ́ọ̀tì kan ò kí ló ṣe ó tọ́nà maintenance requirement ńlẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ mẹkáníìkì ó máa mọ pẹ̀kẹ́ lásán o ándàdé máa ló kò sí nǹkan kan ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ mọ́tò ló ń tàn bẹ́ẹ̀ which is tí ò dẹ̀ rí bẹ́ẹ̀ eléyìí báyìí bó ṣe wà báyìí ǹjẹ́ mẹ́ pé fúnra wa onímọ́tò fúnra rẹ̀ bó bá sáfìsì tán ohun tó lè ṣe fúnra rẹ̀ manual ni. ẹ gbàdá ní sà tán bá sáfìsì ẹ̀ tán ẹ wo bí náà ṣe wà ẹ́ èèyàn tẹ bọ́ọ̀tì yẹn mọ́lẹ̀ àwa tẹ break wàá paná wàá ṣíná ẹ mọ̀ kíní yẹn kí ló ń ṣe ṣẹlẹ̀ bó ṣe ń kà 3 4 apàdà sí 0 0. My God. iná maintenance requirement mo ní ṣẹ́rí kíní tẹ̀ ń wò yìí ẹ bá tọ́nà sí EODO yìí ìyẹn odometer reading bó bá ti wà hàn bílẹ̀ ẹ tẹ bọ́tìn yìí mọ́lẹ̀ resetting switch ẹ tẹ break ẹ ṣíná ẹ máa wò ẹ ti rí bẹ́ẹ̀ a máa kalẹ̀ kan a parí sí 0 0 bó bá ti parí yẹn iná maintenance kúkú nìyẹn ó dọjọ́ tí náà ẹ bá tàn kan tó sáfìsì mọ́tò padà bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pa ò mọ̀ lé ní bàbá tí ó ti lọ wọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀mẹrin ó lọ lẹ́ẹ̀márùn ọ̀gá báwọn jọ ìlú ẹ̀ wọ́n bá dá ìlú ẹ̀ sínú mọ́tò mi àṣìṣe. Hello? Yes. So,
Question.
oh yeah, mo ń gbọ́.
Question mi ó lọ sórí lórí tábà start mọ́tò nígbà míì tó máa roll tí ò ní down epo wà mọ́tò ó ní battery everything wà okay but bí a wà fuel àbí kí náà pé epo máa pọ̀ lórí cylinder kò ní down ọ̀hún tìgbà tó bá.
ó ń depo jù ẹ wá rí pé ẹ máa gbọ́ òórùn epo lẹ́nu sàlẹ́sà ṣe rí coolant temperature sensor yìí bí ò bá dá wọ́n bá start mọ́tò yìí láàárọ̀ ń gbà mí ẹ lè róòlù ẹ̀bọ̀ 2 3 kó tó ti po down bí ò bá gbádùn a máa ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ and air mass sensor bóun náà bá gbádùn bí ìdọ̀tún bá wà lùgbàpọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ tàti àtẹ́gùn yẹn tí ò ráyè kúlò transistor tó yìí ti yẹn mọ́tò á bẹ̀rẹ̀ á starting ọ́ plug tí ó wà lára mọ́tò yìí kó má gbádùn.
Bàtà tó bá máa tún plug ìdí àti wet.
àti wet
Tó bá tún fọ́ tó lè.
yàrá fàá tó start lọ́wọ́ kan bẹ́ẹ̀ irú mọ́tò bẹ́ẹ̀ àárọ̀ tẹ́fẹ́ start ẹ̀ yẹn ẹ yọ coolant temperature sílẹ̀ ẹ start ẹ̀ wá down lọ́wọ́ kan ẹ ti mọ̀ pé coolant yóò dá.
iná check engine tí wọ́n bá start mọ́tò tó bá tàn tí mọ́tò bá wá ń ṣiṣẹ́ tó tàn lẹ̀ síbẹ̀ ṣé tá a bá ń lò ó mọ́ kí ni ìfẹ́ tiẹ̀ sà.
ẹ ṣe ìdí tí mo fi ní kán gbé mọ́tò yìí wọlé nígbà tí mo ní kán gbélé wálẹ̀ kan yẹn mo fẹ́ ká mọ difference láàrin mọ́tò 90s sí 2000 pẹ̀lú 2000 sí 2006 ìyàtọ̀ tó wà láàrin wọn pọ̀ gan-an ẹ wo gbogbo time explain bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ẹ wo coil ignition sensor speed sensor control tán separate lára mọ́tò yìí ẹ wá wò ń bí ojú kan gbogbo ẹ wà àárí screwdriver káàpá ìṣúná bá ṣe ẹ̀ bá wò ó
manual délé yìí.
automatic ni dáadé auto ni kì í ṣe manual mọ́tò yìí auto ignition ní sà ayé ìgbà kankan tá sẹ̀tì là á lò ìgbà kan á lo igniter níta á lo coil wọ́n á gbé coil sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ kan wáyà wá sórí distributor a máa pín kiri mẹ gbogbo ilé àwa kó sójú kan. nígbà tá a wá dórí dín data link connection wa ìyẹn socket mo fi jáde lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn èyí pé àtàlọ́ mọ́ta ni mo wáyà mọ́tò yìí ò pọ̀ gbogbo ìwọ ni iná epo kún o kò kún o orí check engine plug jẹ́ o ń pariwo orí check engine ẹ̀ǹgbà tá wá dórí latest system náà a wá gbé ìwọ lọ ABS wọ́n separate yẹ orí mọ́tò yìí náà ti separate ABS eléyìí báyìí ò lo ABS eléyìí dẹ̀ sí ní ọmọ́tò yìí and níyàn wá separate gbogbo ẹ̀ coil wà lọ́tọ̀ nozzle wà lọ́tọ̀ oníkálukú ló wá ní gbogbo iná tiwọn lórí mini computer tá à ń pè ní dashboard ẹ wo sensor gbogbo tá a tò sílẹ̀ yẹn tó wà níbí gbogbo sensor ló wà lára mọ́tò báyìí káríkárí and sensor kọ̀ọ̀kan ló dẹ̀ níṣẹ́ tiẹ̀ tó ń ṣe ní ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ so ibi tó ní kálukú bá wà lárújọ tiẹ̀ mọ́ ẹ wo mọ́tò báyìí ó lo knock sensor méjì engine dẹ̀ ń complain pé ìkan ò dáa ó possible kó kó ti wọ inú mọ́tò kó ti gbé wáyà knock sensor yẹn torí mọ́tò ìṣòwò ayé tẹ̀lé so n tó lè fa ni pé bóyá eku wọ ọbẹ̀ bóyá eku gé wáyà a máa complain knock sensor yọ kan wọn ẹ̀ tí ì gé kejì bọ́n bá wá gé kejì tán á di pé kí mọ́tò fẹ́ overtake pé ó fẹ́ gun ẹsẹ̀ òkè kò ní lè gbéra kò ní gbà kó gbéra pé n tó mọ́ nítọ̀ ẹ̀ òṣìṣẹ́ o a máa fa mọ́tò sẹ́yìn fúnra rẹ̀ ẹlòmíràn mọ́tò ò ní problem kò ní problem ohun tó ń gáìdì ẹ̀yẹn ni ò rí mọ́ mo rò pé ó yẹ yín sà ńgbà tá a dúró ilé tẹ́sùn mọ́tò kí ni mo ló ṣẹlẹ̀ o oníkálukú ti níná wọn lọ́tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ irú omi bíbá omi ò sínú mọ́tò ìtẹ́lẹ̀ ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì láṣọ but now wọ́n ti ya iná omi lọ́tọ̀ lórí àwọn mọ́tò wọ̀nyí iná oil ó ti wà lọ́tọ̀ iná jíà ó ti wà lọ́tọ̀ ẹ wò tẹ́lẹ̀ service soon là ń lò ní mọ́tò yìí ńgbà tó délé lé ní ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì lé ní maintenance requirement lọ́tọ̀ honda ó ní service ó ní ṣẹ́kẹ̀ǹjì ó ní service indicator light tiẹ̀ lọ́tọ̀ iná mọ́tò yìí bí ò tán báyìí ó níná tá a tàn án nú wọ́n separate gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ́tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ńgbà tá a lórí latest technology. Any question?
Kilometer sensor most of the time. Number one, won't consume epo. Secondly, black smoke. Ṣé kilometer nìkan ló lè cause the black smoke ni?
Ṣé kilometer nìkan sá?
Okay, bí ẹ lè explain fún wa dé.
Ẹ ṣe sá. Ṣé ẹ rí epo tá à ń rà lásìkò yìí ọ̀pọ̀ máa ń fà á kí mọ́tò máa smoke.
bó ṣe lọ́pọ̀ yìí ló máa ṣe.
Mo separate ẹni sá o lọ́pọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀. This air mass sensor air flow ní orí tó wà ní Camry tẹ́gbẹ́ sórí orí pit wa yẹn tán yíyan náà ń pè ní air flow meter this air mass. Bẹ́lẹ̀ bá ń consume kùtù mọ́tò yẹn jẹ epo plug á fire every time ṣe dáadáa bí ẹ̀ máa sọ̀bà gbádùn bẹ̀bẹ̀ bá wọn rí pé epo bóyá ń lè po 5 litres lọ Àkúrẹ́ tẹ́lẹ̀ àríkẹ́ máa lo 7-8 litres lẹ́tí mẹ́ pé ilé yóò gbádùn bí coolant temperature sensor ò bá dá òní mọ́tò yìí lè máa smoke bó bá ti ń da epo jù èyí fi white la máa mú jáde bá pé engine problem èyí fi black no èyí fi gan black tán èyí fi kú but blue bẹ̀bí engine bá ń pọ́n pàtó pé ríǹgì ò gbádùn tí engine bọ̀ tó ń kán sórí piston ẹ̀rí pé fi white yẹn àjọ máa róòlù papọ̀ ni bẹ̀bí lè yóò bá gbádùn èyí fi black direct a máa dì í tá a máa jù síta
At times, sir. Sorry,
Yes.
sir. One more question.
Adam.
At times, tí wọ́n bóyá mọ́tò gbé check engine síta ó display check engine. Wá maybe ó ti do service àbí maybe plug kan ò wá okay. Ẹ̀dẹ̀ solve problem plug yẹn. At the end of the day, tó change the plug, tó start here, á padà display check engine. Ìgbà míì dẹ̀ wà tó yẹ pé bóyá mo diagonal mo gbé machine sórí ẹ̀ ó display àwọn all those things mo wá erase omi àtúpadà wá again lẹ́yìn ìgbà tó wá erase ó lè kọ́kọ́ erase kó lọ after some times àtúpadà síbẹ̀.
àwọn yẹn là ń pè ní pending code tẹ́ ń sọ̀rọ̀ ń pa lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn fault tí ò bá lọ lára mọ́tò tẹ́ ń race tí ò lọ náà ń pè ní pending code next ó ń fẹ́ kó o ṣe èyí tó yẹ kó o ṣe lórí ẹ̀ lórí mọ́tò scan ẹ̀rí fault mẹ́rin àbí mẹ́ta lọ ó ní kan pending code kí ni pending code knock sensor kan kò gbádùn nú ẹ̀ ó ní back one kò dá ọ̀hún tìtàn bá rí kí ló ṣe é wáyà ẹ̀ ti lè gé.
tí wọ́n bá máa ṣe é ṣe 120 ni.
wọ́n á ṣe cover ẹ̀ sá abẹ́ cover ẹ̀ ní knock sensor wa so fault tí ò lọ lára ẹ̀ ló gbé lẹ̀ báyìí irú mọ́tò tẹ́ ra báyìí báyà gbà tẹ́ ra wọ́n ti gé wáyà catalyst ẹ̀ kúrò ẹ̀ wá ní kó má tanná check engine bó kú àtúntàn torí pé wọ́n ti kọ́ bóyá ẹ ra epo sí mọ́tò táǹkì mọ́tò yín wọ́n yọ cover ẹ̀ lọ wá cover kan tó kàn cover ẹ̀ fi dé lásán bó bá ń tanná check engine ta lápá sí. gangan.
Another question. Báwo ló ṣe rí?
Àdétọ̀ yín dà bẹ̀tẹ̀ flush. Yín ṣe coolant ní ìdọ̀tí ní ìsà. Ó yẹ kẹ́ flush yẹ. Ó yẹ kẹ́ flush yẹ dànù ẹ̀ wá da coolant sí.
Báwo ló ṣe lè flush yẹ?
Ojúbò tó ti tú wọn sàlẹ̀. Àwọn káwọ̀ṣù wọn bá yẹn tọ́ mi sí. A flush yẹ.
Àti kọ́kọ́ spark ní ìsàlẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ wá dé tó bá ti gbóná dáadáa yẹn wá tú. A gbóná o, ìdọ̀tí yẹn jáde lẹ́yìn
ẹ̀ máa ń lẹ̀sí. Omi ẹ̀ máa ń lẹ̀sí.
Ṣèbó ni kò lẹ́sí. Mo kàn ṣe é sí ni pé kò
ṣe dọ̀tí.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe there will be a group photograph. Group photograph. All participants, please come closer. Ẹ ká yà kán rí ibi tá a ti ṣe nǹkan pé. Okay, sir. I'm going to do that. Come around for the group photograph, please. Ele tó wá ti rí. Mi ti síbẹ̀ o. Bí mi ti ẹ̀ yọ kù.
Òwe ẹnjìníà yé mi o.
No, mo kàn ní bí mi ti ẹ̀ yọ kù.